Hello, Miss Shannon. Thank you for seeing me for the final lesson.
Wow, congratulations. It's
Thank
number
you.
5.
Number 5.
And today was I think it's a hard topic to do, the concept of politeness.
Yes.
Right? And our students get it because they have specific words for politeness in Vietnamese.
Yes.
But it's not even something that we we usually use nowadays, right? You don't find people saying you can't do something because you use the word can. You have to ask with may I. We don't hold very many people account to that, but I think it's important for our students to understand kind of that politeness concept. So it looked like they were getting it. Yeah. All right.
I saw it in plenty of films, from America, because, I'm not from America, that some teachers frown upon I.
They do.
May I?
Yes. You can, but you're not able to. It's
exactly.
That's exactly.
Backhanded
comment. And exactly. And I would like to think that that's not the case so much anymore, but what do I know? So what do you think is something that went well in this lesson?
Well, what I enjoyed adding was the cultural dimension of discussing how it was different between languages. At some point I got confused between countries, and then I went back to that and said, we use more polite words. That's more structured, I guess, than in Vietnamese, but I wanted to stress out you are still polite in both of them, except that the language is different, not the people.
Yeah.
Right? I had choice boards, and I liked doing that, and the kids liked doing that.
Yeah.
Lesson went a little slowly, though. I was kind of...
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know, one of those days.
Yeah, sure,
Yeah.
sure. I liked how you went around and kind of like bumped into the tables and said, excuse me, because that's one thing that I'm trying to get across to people. When people hold the door for you, please say thank you. Or if you reach in front of someone, say excuse me. You explicitly taught it, which is important for our younger learners, right?
Yes.
And our older learners don't get that explicitness as a second language. So I think it's really an important development in our students' language development. So I enjoyed that.
Thanks.
I was curious about what the timer was when you put it up on the board, because I didn't, and I think I've seen it before. But then I finally realized what it was, and I was really happy to see a timer.
Yes.
Okay? Because I think that a timer is two things. It holds people to account.
Yes.
Right? Because you can say, oh, okay, I'll give you 5 minutes to do this, and 13 minutes later, you get back around to it, right?
Yes.
And a timer is not you or me deciding when something is done.
It's objective.
It is. And I think that's a really, really important tool to use in teaching. It's a reminder for us, okay, get back on track, but it's not punitive,
yes.
Right? And so I appreciate the way that you implemented that.
Thanks. A point on that, sorry to interrupt you.
Please.
One of the standards, the InTASC standards, mentioned adjusting time according to how students manage that.
Yep.
And I looked around and I saw that they could have used a little bit more time.
Right.
So at one point, I actually gave them another minute.
Right.
Quietly.
So that's one way to do it, right? And that's completely fine. Because you are basing that on your observations. Another way to do it is just to say, okay, there's 2 minutes left. Do you need even more time? And then have them kind of critically reflect on what they're doing to see if do I need more than 2 minutes?
Yes.
And then if they do, they do, right? And children are always appreciative, I think, if we give them the opportunity to consider and expand. So, yeah, good. I'm curious, when you're walking around, observing the students. I've noticed you have a clipboard
Yes.
and a notepad and you're taking notes. What are you writing?
I'm writing feedback for them, and also, taking who's talking, who's not talking, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Feedback for a later stage. That part I needed to cut. I had about 45 minutes. I had to cut it down to 20. I managed 21. There was feedback and there was self-reflection that you didn't get to see because I want them to be as honest as possible. So I ask my co-teacher to do it in Vietnamese. But I do ask her to ask my questions.
Right. And that's another thing that I wrote here is good cooperation between your co-teacher and you. I think
Thank you. She's
I've
great.
seen maybe a change in, at least on the video, of how you're including her in the lessons. And I didn't see all of that today.
Yes.
But I think that there's like a mutual appreciation developing, and it's getting to be a better relationship.
Absolutely. I asked her to share more information with me and some of the workload. For example, normally on paper, it's her who has to check homework, but I said, no, let me see as well, because I'll help you with that, but at the same time, it helps me to know what I need to reteach, what I need to work on more.
Absolutely.
So I told her, if you want, you can do it, but you can also give it to me, and I encouraged her,
Yeah.
I can work with you, and that's why I'm here,
Good. I like to see that.
Thanks.
One last thing. Two last things. So when you're doing the workbook work and they're sitting or they're on the floor or something, is that really pair work? So they were...
Oh, yes, I see what you mean. I do walk around, and sometimes I see that they're actually independent. Like, have you checked with your desk partner? I call them desk partners. They should be desk mates, but
yeah,
I started
partner,
wrong,
whatever.
and I'm just going to...
Yeah.
Yeah, like a bull with a red flag. So, yeah, I do ask them to, hey, check with your desk partner. Have you checked?
Yeah.
Look, see, Bao finished. Have you finished as well?
Right.
Have you checked your work?
Okay.
I do actually do that, yes.
Okay, because I saw a lot of like independent work happening, and that's fine. They're sitting together, they're enjoying it, they're doing their work. But if that is the purpose of that task, okay. If it's not, if you actually wanted them to be conversing and checking,
Yes.
then like you say, you have to go around and check. Okay.
I did, yes.
And the last one is, in this lesson, you were talking about houses and alleys.
No.
You were drawing something on the board here, and you were asking if it was okay if all of the houses were the same and all the alleys were the same.
Oh, I know what you mean. Families.
Families, okay.
All the houses and families. As in-
Okay.
because one exercise at the end, I should have definitely sent you the materials as well. I do have them right here on the screen on this laptop. The exercise, ask them to check the rules that they apply in their houses.
Oh.
And
okay.
so all of them seems fair.
Okay.
But then I ticked all of them, and I asked them, like, have you all got the same? This was a different exercise. This was actually a critical thinking exercise, and I wanted to lean into diversity. I just let them do it
Yeah.
to see if they're like, but wait a second, I didn't do that.
Right.
And that's what I wanted to highlight at the
Right.
end of it.
So I could hear some of the students saying no.
Yes.
Right? And because I wasn't really sure what the purpose of the activity was, then I'm going, okay, kids are saying no, but you're not checking in with them. Right?
Yes.
So...
This is why, because it was individual. All the
Right.
rules were fair rules.
Right.
But that's why I wanted to point out at the end.
Right.
That it's okay in this case, because you are a different family and you have different rules.
Right.
Maybe I could have handled that much better, but yeah.
Well, it's just maybe if you get a student who's saying no, you say, okay, well, what's your rule? Like, give me an example or please explain.
Yes.
Because, like you say, it's a critical thinking activity,
Yes.
right? And so it's just, if a child has too many differences, will they begin to self-doubt? Will they think they're doing the activity wrong? Do you know that they're comprehending the activity in the right way, even though they're answering no? Right? So there's a lot of questions that could be had, and you need to follow that up just by saying, give your example.
You're right, yeah. Right.
All right, lesson 5.
That's
Done.
okay. Thanks again.
You're welcome.
Thanks for everything.